The relationship between humans and canines goes back a very long way, so it seems appropriate that our four-legged friends attract the attention of artists. Patrick Murphy takes us to a museum that should pique the interest of both dog and art lovers.
A dog museum is a museum devoted solely to canines. It's the only dog museum of its kind in the world. It's a fine arts museum. So we have paintings, bronzes, porcelains, decorative arts, artifacts, all relating to man's best friend. And it's where you can see your favorite breed immortalized on canvas. There was a group of interested people back in the 1970s who got together and said, you know, there's all of this beautiful dog art out there in private collections in various places. There must be enough to sustain a particular museum that we could have a dog museum and bring it all together in one place to share with everybody. And that's pretty much the premise behind the Dog Museum. The Dog Museum is housed in Jarville House in Queenie Park, West St. Louis County. Jarville House dates from 1853, a fabulous antebellum home, absolutely gorgeous. The collection is comprised primarily of 19th century, early 20th century pieces, but of course dog painting, dog art has been around long before that. These two objects are probably the oldest pieces in the Dog Museum's collection. These are Japanese temple dogs, and they date from the 1500s. They would have at one time more than likely adorned a temple in some way, but probably to ward off evil spirits. You can see there's a little bit of a menacing look to their face, and it would have been to make the bad things, the bad spirits go away. They would have also been much more brightly painted at one time, and a lot of that has been lost, but the character of the pieces are certainly still here. This is a portrait of a pointer, painted by the French artist Jean-Baptiste Udry. It dates from the mid-1700s. It's one of the earlier paintings in the museum's collection.
Particularly interesting about the museum's collection is how it documents the evolving relationship between dogs and humans throughout history.
At one point, the dog was primarily a working dog, a working companion, because he was a hunter, a guardian, a herding dog, a dog that was used to protect flocks of sheep, cattle, and so forth. He helped earn his keep in some way, and the dog was very prized for that ability. And so a lot of times you would have someone who might commission a painting or a drawing of their dog because they wanted to show off their prized hunting dog. Then Queen Victoria came along, and Queen Victoria loved and adored animals. She had many, many, many dogs, and she commissioned the best artist of the time to paint portraits of her pets. So out of the Victorian age, you have this cornucopia of really fine dog painting. This is one of the premier paintings in the Dog Museum's collection. This is by Sir Edwin Henry Landseer. He was one of the favorite court painters of Queen Victoria. This does not happen to be of the Queen's dogs, but very typical of dogs you would have seen in the Scottish Highlands, your deerhound and your foxhound. And I think when you look at this particular piece, you can see how absolutely impressive it is. And he's used all sorts of things here in the composition which draw your eye to the focal point, which would be the portraits of the two dogs. So you have this angle of the deerhound's legs, which guide you up this way. And it shows a sentimentality between the two dogs. There's sort of a relationship here, a story. It's not just a static portrait, a confirmation portrait. So, you know, the artist is telling you something. And what is he telling you here? He's saying that the dogs have emotions. They have feelings. They interact with each other as well as with humans. This is a large painting by Richard Ansdell. It's titled The Poacher, dates from 1865. And this is a really nice example of a tie dog. The large dog here in the middle was a Mastiff. And these dogs were tied by day and let loose by night to patrol private properties and estates. And we know that it was a tied dog because the artist has purposely put this really large ring on the collar, identifying this dog, this Mastiff, as a tie dog. This is a perfect example of the quintessential pet portrait. This is painted by William Henry Hamilton Trude, and it dates from 1888. And we see a variety of breeds depicted in an interior scene, and you can see all the different types of working dog. But here they are shown inside in an interior scene. And that really reflects the changing attitude of the role of the dog from perhaps just solely a working dog to a canine companion, a member of the family, someone who was with you in the house.
Some of the paintings are as much reflections of humans as they are depictions of pets.
Anthropomorphism was very popular in the 19th century, and what that was when you gave human attributes to animals. And so we relate to that, and we of course find it whimsical. And we have a presidential pet portrait. This is of George Bush and First Lady Barbara Bush's dog Millie, shown on the south lawn of the White House.
There are galleries that highlight the courage of war dogs and police canine units, a dog hall of fame, and memorabilia that reminds us of some of our favorite furry Hollywood stars.
The museum also has some fascinating artifacts, such as this incredible Palladian-style doghouse by the well-known architect Juan Pablo Molyneux, who has studios in Paris and New York City. And then where else can you see a Mastiff Carousel figure? This was created by the Louvre factory. It dates from the 19th century, and it was actually an item used on a merry-go-round. And in addition, we have this charming child's cart. This also dates from the 19th century, and children would have used this to play with, and it would have been pulled by a dog. And we can see an example of a painting up here on the wall where you actually have a cart that's being pulled by a Mastiff and a small steer.
It is a museum dedicated not only to fine art, but to the special bond that has endured between our two species for centuries, founded on love and friendship, loyalty, work, and play.
This is the perfect venue for the dog museum because dogs are part of the family. They're a member of the family. And to see their portraits displayed in a home setting as opposed to maybe just blank white walls in a larger gallery doesn't mean as much. To have them here in a home, it makes it much more personal and it makes more sense for this collection.